Hi everyone, this is Holly. Today I've got 10 beautiful DIY trays to share with you, and as always, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love it if you hit that button. We need this wood here, and we're going to cut it. Shout out to my husband there. He helped me out on that one. But you guys, power tools are the great equalizer. No matter whether you're 18 or 80, even with arthritis, if you have like a miter saw, anyone can cut wood. It's amazing. They really are fantastic for that reason. Here I am taking wood glue. I've spoken about this many times in videos. Wood glue has the ability to hold raw wood together at a molecular structure so that it becomes one with the wood. Like if you try to pull this apart once it's fully dry and cured, the wood will often break off with the glue because it's that strong. So even though I'm going to put these handles down on either side and hold it together that way, and I'm going to go ahead and you'll see me use a nail gun in a minute, I'm still gluing the planks at the bottom together just for extra stability, I guess, and strength so that this tray holds together. So you can use hot glue at this point if you want. I didn't. I just went with the wet glue because I didn't want it to raise up in any levels. I was a little nervous about that. I wanted it really, really flat, and I wanted time to reposition things if necessary. That's the one good thing about wet glues, you guys. I don't know how many of you have used hot glue before and then glued something down and went, uh-oh, that's not straight, or that's not where I want it, and you have to tear it apart and you actually damage your craft. And I obviously cheated a little bit there because I was using the nail gun, which kind of works like a hot glue. It holds it, right away so I could paint. Now I'm just using the paint called Craft Smart. I bought it on a whim from Michael's. It's really impressive. It's a one-coat acrylic paint, a lot cheaper than Waverly chalk paint. It dries super matte, looking like chalk paint. A lot of people don't realize that the Waverly chalk paint is just acrylic paint with the additives in like calcium carbonate and different chemicals so that it doesn't clump. It is not like Rust-Oleum chalk paint. So if you find a good acrylic paint, go for it. Now here's a free printable down below in my description box. I broke it up in 3 different strips for those of you that want to create the tray, and then I'm going to upload the one that is just all together in case somebody just wants to make a sign, this would make a great little sign with a frame around it. But I found it too difficult to get each word big enough for the planks. You had to make them different sizes on my printer, and I'm guessing you guys are going to run into the same problem. So I'm going to upload those separately for you just in case. So I tried the pencil trick, you guys, and it just didn't come out dark enough. So I resorted to my carbon paper, and that worked out great. The top one I did trace over a little bit with the pencil afterwards just to make it darker, but it was going to be way too hard to do the whole thing with pencil. And I'm just tracing these words down on the board, and then I'm going to use a combination of a fine-tipped Sharpie, a thick-tipped Sharpie, and black paint to fill these in. And this is what it looks like when it's all done. I'll be using these garden stakes that I found at Dollar General. I love these. They carry them every year and they're always just $1. I hope they don't raise the price, but they're so handy for crafts. So I grabbed a bunch of them to craft with. I'm just using a leftover piece here to get a straight cut because that way I can pinch it alongside vertical and flush with the rest of it, and it helps me get a straighter cut. But now here's the Dollar Tree sign, and this was so weird. When I went to remove that piece on the front, I just assumed it's cardboard or MDF board. It always is, you guys, right? It was like a weird rubbery paper. I've never had this experience with a Dollar Tree sign before, so I just thought I'd share this part with you. It was a weird, thick, rubbery it wasn't even paper. I don't know what it was. And then underneath it also had the word blessed. So I thought that was weird. Anyway, these boards usually come warped, and you can fix most of them just by gently bending them in the opposite direction for a while until they finally straighten out. And here's my new fun tool, you guys. I will leave the link down below in the description box, but I got it on Amazon. And even though the blade isn't really deep, I just flipped the stick around and cut the rest of it, and this saved so much time. Best $80 I ever spent. So even though this little table saw is pretty mighty, you still have to be careful you don't cut your fingers. So I'm going to let you hear the sound here so you can see exactly how I was so careful and so slow when I was cutting my craft sticks or any kind of wood. I definitely shut the blade off before I put my fingers anywhere near it, and look at the clean cuts you get. That's another thing. When I cut my craft sticks with this, none of them split or frayed at the end. I also have really good luck with those metal shears that you can see in the upper right-hand corner with the yellow handles. You just need something super, super sharp. I have very, very sharp crafting scissors, and they still kind of splinter sometimes. But I found I could cut comfortably 3 craft sticks on top of each other with that little machine. And like I said, it saves so much time. You know, it's awesome. I love it. So now I'm just going to take and start gluing these sticks on at an angle like this, kind of like we're making a Christmas tree, I guess. You're just going to go down all the way on the board like this. And even though it looks easy, you do have to be careful that you get everything to fit nice and snug and nothing is warped. That was a little tricky, and what I did run into is I used too much hot glue. So this hot glue that I'm using is Sure Bonder. It's supposed to glue down wood and glass, and so that's why I'm using hot glue. But see how I'm having to take this craft knife? This is a Dollar Tree craft knife, by the way, in case you're curious. And I'm having to cut some of the hot glue off of the surface because it oozed out underneath because I used too much. And if you do that and it doesn't lay, it won't lay flat, and then you'll just have a look that doesn't look very finished and professional. So you do have to be careful to be conservative with how much hot glue you use. You can also use wood glue or some other kind of strong glue if you want. A wet glue, that would be, if you have time. I usually, because I'm filming, I usually move pretty quick, but look at this. This was the most unexpected, best part of this whole DIY is when it came to cut the edge of the craft sticks, like so many of us do after we cover something. This little machine was just so clean and so fast. I love it. So to take care of the ends at the top there, I just measured individual little craft sticks and used a pencil as needed to finish off the ends. I'm showing you here what I did so you know. Right there's like a little end piece. I'm going to trace it with a pencil, and then I'm going to cover it with some masking tape to prevent, or at least try to prevent, the fraying. That usually works, and you pinch it really hard with your finger, and that usually stops it, from the counter pressure when you're cutting, and you nibble with it with your scissors really gently, like I did, so that you don't, fray it. Or I don't know if fraying is the right word, but it splinters and kind of fragments, so you have to be careful of that. So that's what it looks like when we're all done. And now we're going to use some of the Gorilla wood glue. I'm just rotating the wood glue and the hot glue now to have a permanent hold, although I am again using Sure Bonder glue, and that does state it holds wood and glass. I've been using it now for 6 months. I'm really pleased with the results, and to be honest with you, when you buy it at Walmart, even on Amazon, it is not that much more expensive than the Dollar Tree glue sticks, and it hasn't let me down yet. We've had extreme temperature changes here and humidity, and it is holding strong. So when I glued these little stakes down, I glued them hanging over the edge on purpose because I wanted to cover most of the MDF board. I didn't mind if some of it showed on the end, but I just kind of wanted to get a more professional, clean look. So I'm going to tuck this extra large skewer stick that I found at the Dollar Tree underneath each of the edge. And I was going to do it on the other end as well, the little narrow ends, but I decided to skip that. You'll see that later. So we're just gluing it down now. And if you don't have the stakes for the borders, you could just get creative and use whatever you want. You could even use more craft sticks. You could use any kind of cord, like those cable cords that are round. Those make kind of really interesting borders. I've seen people use tumbling tower blocks. You could stack up craft sticks. That would be a neat look. And just have them, like stack them up about well, how many would I do? I'd probably do about 6 of them, and then just put them side by side with flat edges, flush, and fill it in with a little bit of spackling, all kinds of things. So you just have to have fun and use your imagination. So I'm just staining this with some watered down antique wax. Any brand of antique wax will work, and we're all done. And I think this came up gorgeous. Let me know what you think. So I see this tray online when I look up boho trays. I love the color combo. It looks like a mocha coffee type, perfect coffee tray. And I see this tray and I prefer the shape of this one. So I like the colors of the first one, but I like the shape better of that one. So I'm using some of my free plywood, and here's a great site, Free Pick. Copyright free. I find a very similar mandala shape, but I sand the edges. I'm using leftover trim pieces from a previous project, and I'm just using watered down burnt umber paint. Now you can use any brown paint to stain, but I just like burnt umber, and I'm using it with a baby wipe. Now, baby wipe, again, for those of you that are new to my channel, they have conditioners in and slippery, slidey ingredients and moisturizers that help helps contribute to something called the glide factor. It makes everything glide really nice. It comes in really handy when you're trying to apply paint and make it look like stain. A lot of you may already know this, but a little tip when you Mod Podge things that have a seam like this: if you put it down and you find you're overlapping and you're able to move it, it's always better to leave a little hair line between the two than overlap. If you overlap, it's really noticeable, but if you leave a little hairline, you can often just touch it up with a little, bit of paint in between, and you get away with it. But I still need my nail gun here, even though I've gone ahead and glued it with the wood glue. So this is watered down Mod Podge. Not too much, but it's supposed to help with the wrinkles. I'm not sure it does. I think it might a little bit. I rarely use Mod Podge in its full state because I find it's really thick and it either pulls the paint that I've painted, probably because I don't wait long enough for my paint to dry usually, and it disrupts the layer of paint underneath. So I try to make it so it's a little more slippery and slidey. But here I'm going to go ahead and press it down, and you'll see me grab a piece of plastic film that's just from a wrapper of a craft item or something that I had opened that I had in the room, and that works just fine. You can use saran wrap, you can use page covers like those things from notebooks, anything that's plastic. In fact, those page covers are really good because it's a thick film that you can actually wipe off and wash again. But I'm using just this, any plastic film. To me, is still the best way to get all the wrinkles out. And you can see that I'm lightly distressing the edge there, but I actually used my electric sander on this, my Ryobi. I took it outside and really roughed it up and distressed it. And I am putting a very generous, a very thick coat of 100% not watered down Mod Podge. You can actually see me pouring it out of the bottle here. I do that on anything that I know is going to get a lot of traffic and a lot of use because it does need that extra protective barrier. And to get it to look like the one online, I go ahead and attach 2 rope handles, which I do end up screwing in. And here it is. This is from the Dollar Tree Plus because they have one just like this. It's like $5, I think, but it's a solid wood tray. It's kind of bright white for me. So as you can see, I'm going to take some gray paint. It's from Apple Barrel, pewter gray, and just distress it a little bit because I don't want mine to be so white. So I do have another free printable for you. It's so cute. I found it on, I believe it was Clip Art for vintage bunnies. And the ears are a little short for a bunny, but it's my husband said, it looks like a magical, mythical creature. So all the little guys come out during springtime. So I still love it. And I ended up, printing it out on tissue paper. The method for tissue paper is really easy. You just use some cardstock, some regular tissue paper like you would wrap a gift with. Nothing fancy. You can even use generic. It doesn't have to be Hallmark or anything. And you tape the edge up, you cut it out the same size as the cardstock and tape the edge with masking tape or painter's tape or a tape that you can easily remove. And you just put it through your printer the right side up and the image will print on the tissue paper. And then you cut it away from the cardstock and it does a wonderful transfer. I love this over a Cricut. I have a Cricut and I never use it because I don't feel like it's fair because you guys are so excluded unless you have a Cricut. So I try to avoid using it so everyone can recreate what I'm making if they want to. Plus you can't get intricate images like this with Cricut. It's just like, well, it's vinyl. It's like the vinyl stickers you get from Dollar Tree and you just stick it on your craft. So I'm not a huge fan. This is actually flatter and to me less noticeable because I use the glue stick. You saw what I did and it just goes down perfectly flat, no wrinkles, and then I dry brush around it to make it blend in and it disappears. So you saw me take some sandpaper and a nail file just to sand off any extra paint that I didn't want and distress it. Then I'm putting Mod Podge on because I will be using this, but we're all done. For this next project, I use a Dollar Tree tray, but that's actually the Dollar General. You can still get these for $1. So I just want to let you know if you live by a Dollar General, go check it out over there. So this was just such a great technique to turn this cheap plastic into a faux wood. I spray painted it with some black paint. Then I do some dry brushing. And the important thing here when I was doing this faux wood is I talk about the different layers of paint. Because if you just do one, sometimes you don't get wood that looks, it's missing like the depth, I guess. And so you don't have the realism, like right there. If I just left it right there, you totally can tell that's not wood. You can see the little circles on the bottom that, give it away that it's plastic. So we start off with the, it was a black primer, by the way. You do have to use some kind of primer. Even if it's a spray paint mixed with primer, you have to have something that definitely will stick to your plastic. You could also, if you don't have paint, you can use a clear spray varnish, like a spray paint varnish, and spray your plastic with that. And I have heard that will also hold on like acrylic paint and things like that. If you do that, that is a great hack. So then I take some territorial beige and burnt umber, and we're basically working with those three colors. I just start dipping my brush in some, and I don't rinse my brush off. I dip it in territorial beige, then I dip it in a little burnt umber, and I just keep mixing, blending. And at the end, because there's so much contrast and depth and honestly paint, there's several layers of paint on here, and I smear it a little bit with a Kleenex where I want it to be smeared, push my brush down. Again, project that you keep working on until you get it where it is. But I do recommend at least 4 colors when you're doing, if you're serious about making something look like faux wood. See how I'm taking the tissue now and I'm wiping what I did. So it's kind of wet, it's already dry in places. And dry brushing, someone asked me, that is putting very, very little paint on your brush. You dip your brush in paint and you basically use a tissue to tap it mostly off. So there's hardly anything on there. So this is sped up, but this did take some time, but the results are really, really beautiful. I show you the grain up close so you can actually see how it looks like faux wood grain. Like someone could walk up close to this and they would never know. Here's another great deal on the clearance aisle at Hobby Lobby, $1.59. I think Michael's has clearance like this too, so does Walmart. You just have to keep your eye open. But I decided that this one would make a perfect modern tray. Like, I didn't want to touch that image at all because that's just your classic little red door. It's very clean and crisp. And I have friends, for those of you that watch my channel, I have friends, a couple of friends that absolutely love modern decor, and so when I have a chance to make them something for their home, I do. So I go ahead and take the Dollar Tree towering blocks. I glue 2 of them together because you do need to put them on top of each other, otherwise you won't see the little legs at the bottom to make this a tray, because it's a perfect serving tray. I actually think this kind of looks French too. It's cute, like modern French, I'm not sure. So all this needs is just 2 coats of Mod Podge. That's it. If you have the dishwasher safe Mod Podge, that would probably be even better. Although regular Mod Podge, once it's fully cured, does work well to, against water damage. So, just in case I want to put liquids on this. So I just take the little legs, I'm gluing it on the bottom of the tray, and that's it. I just thought this made such a cute high-end tray. That's how it looks from the side, and it's perfect, but we're all done. This is my favorite vinyl mat, I think, that Dollar General carried. And I decided to cut some more of the stakes. You can see right there, they're cut. And there's little rough edges. I'm going to take my scissors to cut that off. And then I'll just use a little bit of sandpaper to further smooth the edge down a little bit. But I'm using 2 of those Dollar Tree signs again in black. There's the wood stakes again. I'm going to go ahead and cut my twine off the end. My first thoughts are, ooh, this will be a really awesome long tray. It'll have some of the shiplap type looking wood sticking out on either end. It'll look awesome. The handles will cover the holes. But I do end up invariably cutting these boards down because I feel the tray's a little too long. With the placemat, it just doesn't look quite right, and you'll see that later. But I'm taking some white acrylic paint. This is just white apple barrel paint, and I'm giving the wood a dry brush. Or it's not wood, it's the MDF board, but I'm giving it a dry brush. And then, of course, to get these handles to match, I'm going to go ahead and paint them black, right? We have to start off with black, just like the sign. Once they're dry, we'll go ahead and do the dry brushing again with the white paint to get it to all come together and match. If your tray is just decorative, you can absolutely skip this part. I am actually going to use this tray, so I wanted to add a little bit more of a brace where the 2 seams met together underneath. And here's what I was talking about earlier. I mentioned this. I made the decision when I put the placemat down that I really didn't want this tray to be that long after all. So I tore the handle off before it was finished drying, and I scooched it up. So we're just going to cut that end off right there. We're going to make this a shorter tray. And I also thought it made the tray less flimsy too, because there is that center seam. It just creates more stability if you shorten it a little bit, and that's what I did. So now we're using a little bit of gray paint. I just took the black and white paint and kind of mixed it together, and it made a beautiful complementary edge for this tray. And now I'm using wood glue, and I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue just to tack it down so it stays in place, and we're going to glue this last handle down. Anyway, we're using Mod Podge to Mod Podge this down, and we're going to go ahead and seal it in with Mod Podge as well, because like I said, I am planning on using this. It's going to hopefully get quite a bit of use. I was going to put it on top of my ottoman, maybe put my coffee here during the day when I'm, enjoying a warm cup of coffee, watching a movie. It's perfect, but I love this. And I'm using now the 1 gallon regular paint sticks, and I left that in the wrapping. That's a nice trick, and I cut it with the wrapping on. It kind of holds it nice and, clean. You see people tape them together, but don't take them out of the package if you have to cut all of them and you're going to cut them. And they cut to about 9.5 and 9 inches depending on what brand you use. I really hesitate giving measurements because I have found that paint sticks are not all created equal. Some are a little wider, some are a little longer, but more or less roundabout, give or take 9.5 inches. So I ended up using 13 1-gallon stir sticks. That's how big I wanted my tray. And I found it was best just to cut both sides and one end only until the very end of the project. That way, if you have to make some adjustments, sometimes the final piece you put in isn't going to match the other end measurement, and you'll find that out because maybe you didn't cut the wood perfect, like the little planks perfectly straight. There's little variances, so just trust me on that one. You want to wait until you have it all kind of put together by just laying the sticks down and then getting the measurement that way before you make your final cut. So I'm using the little towering wooden blocks as my base because I do want my tray to have that nice edge that looks really high end and expensive. And I'm using wood glue, and I'm purposely putting the wood glue, as you can see, along the edge so it kind of drips down and holds this where the seam is for all of the wood. So it's going to be on the planks that I'm putting in right now, and then it's also going to be holding the thicker 5-gallon paint sticks together with, and I hope that all makes sense. I kind of placed it on purpose so it's holding every single bit of that wood with the wood glue, so we have that really strong, durable hold. And I'm using some more towering wood blocks for the legs here. Surprisingly, those looked the best. I tried some different options, and that just fit perfect for the look I was going for. And here's a trick I used at Christmas, you guys. I got a lot of positive feedback from you. You could use a Dollar Tree cutting board. I don't have any real handles. If you have some metal handles, that would be great. I can't find any of the Dollar Tree faux leather. You guys, I wish I could. My Dollar Tree is so lame. No faux leather ribbon. So when I can't find it, I dupe it. And surprisingly, these containers work fabulous for faux metal. They're amazing. I cut out some faux handles that I'm going to put on just for decoration. You know, we're not really going to be lifting the tray with the handles, but it looks really fashionable right now, and I wanted to do that. And now I'm just using some Craft Smart acrylic paint. Love that paint. It's one coat just to cover everything up. And here I'm using primer, the Kills primer, to paint these. Big mistake. I should have taken them outside to spray paint them with white primer. It would have been so much easier. It was, I got the job done, but it was way harder than it needed to be. So spray paint it if you have the white spray paint in, primer. And I decide where I didn't get the measurements just perfect. I was just being really picky, you guys. I do add some spackling in there just to fill it in to even it out because I just want the tray to look really expensive. And I'm using a baby wipe there just to kind of clean it up. And now I'm going to use this water-based acrylic stain, which I have also spoken about before in previous videos. And this, with a little bit of water and a baby wipe and a brush, I kind of use both methods again, but this has a much better glide factor on painted dry wood. It wasn't, when I say glide factor, it means it's slippery and it just kind of slides and a little bit goes a long way. So I decided to save my precious antique wax for when I need that. For raw wood, I think I'm sticking with the water-based acrylic stain. It's kind of slimy. Last minute decision here was to do 2 coats, but just on every other plank to give it a super cute little pattern. It looked so pretty. I was kind of inspired from something I saw on Pinterest. It was in gray and white, but I love the way that this tray came out. And now I'm taking this faux hammered copper spray paint. Boy, if you don't have a collection of metal spray paints, get some, you guys. It makes all the difference. And I sprayed those handles, and the camera does not do them justice. They look just like metal. They came out awesome. And I'm showing you this up close because I'm using those little Dollar Tree pearl beads again that I painted black. But I'm showing you that, see, when it goes wrong and you think you've got all the hot glue everywhere and you're going, oh no, oh no. Watch how I go ahead and clean this up. I'm holding it steady with my finger, but I have these little thin, tiny tweezers. I recommend tweezers for crafting too, for fine details, because it makes the difference. It makes things look real and expensive versus fake. But watch how I just lift that glue up and take it off, and voila, we have a super clean finish, and this is it. And I love, love this tray. is a Pinterest find. It's my inspiration piece. It's that tray, you guys. I saw this tray. I absolutely fell in love with the colors and the energy of it. So we're going to try and recreate the energy here with another tray. This is a tray I got from the 99-cent only store for 99 cents, but the Dollar Tree certainly has plenty of trays you can use. And I took it outside. I gave it one coat of white primer by Rust-Oleum spray paint. And now I'm using Granite Gray by Apple Barrel Paint. This is a gray that I use because it almost looks like a blue gray. Now I do end up using a little bit of blue just to kick up the blue vibes a bit more when I'm working on distressing this, but we start off with the Granite Gray. Now I'm using the Dollar Tree wood pieces right there because they're going to make perfect little rustic legs for this tray. I don't have the ability to recreate the kind of legs the original tray had. And you guessed it, this is the part I would have done differently, and it was such an outstanding hack. I actually shared it a while ago, but the video did not get as many views as I was hoping for, which was a shame because this is literally like the best little hack I ever shared. It's in the top 5. The Dollar Tree sold this little cheap domino game, and the wood you could cut. Look at that. So you could custom legs, whatever you make. So that tray that I showed you in the very beginning right there with those legs, I could have made. I mean, this is a tray I ended up making in the DIY that I'm doing right now in this video. I could have duplicated. I mean, it's definitely leveling up. So it's time to share it again. And Dollar Tree may not sell this anymore, but I am positive you can find cheap little wood like this or domino sets somewhere online. And I just wanted to share it again with you. So you saw me take some black there and just go over with a dry brush. And now I'm using antique white from Apple Barrel to do another dry brush, and of course my favorite, burnt umber. We're going to use a little bit of that. I'm using a combination of colors, and I just keep working with this tray and working with it and working with it until I get the look I like. I will give you a breakdown of the colors in the order that I used them. My first color, and they're all Apple Barrel paints, was Granite Gray. Second color was black. Third color was antique white. And my fourth color was burnt umber, and then I'll add a little bit of baby blue in there. You can see it right there just to kick up the blue a bit. That was not Apple Barrel, actually. That was just an old paint, but any baby blue would work, and you don't have to do that. That's optional. And now I'm just adding some black into the curves there to try and create an illusion of a bit more depth. And we're going to continue with more dry brushing, more smearing, and just more, working on this tray until we get it where we want it to be. So I'm adding some more black, and then when the surface is a little wet there from the sponge, I take advantage of that and I add the baby blue to kind of give it more of a blue haze all over it. And of course, to make up for the fact that I don't have those awesome legs on the original tray, you're going to see me use some awesome stencils. I have some beautiful stencils another lovely subscriber sent me. She said she got it from Dollar General, but someone came on and said she also saw these at the Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for French country. And it just gave it such a beautiful French country accent. But you'll have to let me know in the comments if I failed it or nailed it. I love this tray. Here are some scoops from baby formula that I saved. I'm going to go ahead and cut the little handle off using some wire cutters. I get it as flat as I can, and then I use some cuticle cutters. Those are a great tool for crafting, by the way, when you need to get into tiny areas. Some little
cuticle clippers, I cut down more, and then I take the sanding block from the Dollar Tree and sand it completely flat, and you literally cannot tell there was ever a handle there. And then I choose to go around and kind of sand the entire thing because we are going to be painting these, and I want the surface to, the paint to adhere to the surface. So we're roughing it up a little bit, and we're giving it a coat of my chalk paint. That's my homemade one in the jar right now. So I got these off of Amazon. There'll be a link down below. They're only like $10, and they're absolutely fabulous. They're 100% silicone molds, and I think they're meant for air dry clay. I'm being like super thrifty, and I'm gonna go for it with hot glue. There we have it right there, a beautiful mold. Now, I'm one of those crafters. I change my mind a lot, and I encourage you all to do this because that's part of the fun of creating, is to be able to change your mind. But I end up going with this mold instead because I decide that longer one isn't going to look good for what I need, and I make a total of 4. And you also saw me use those cuticle clippers to clean up the edges. They're a great tool for that. Now, this is a sign I found at Ross. Again, we're looking to beat the Dollar Tree now because they're raising their prices, and I think you can do better elsewhere. So that was 99 cents. Here's a free printable that's going to be off of a blog that I'll leave the link for down below. I want it big so that it covers my full tray, and I go ahead and I do it on the tissue paper, that simple gift tissue paper that I tape to cardstock and put it through my printer. So as you can see, I'm using my glue stick. I'm taking my time because we're matching all the seams up, and you'll see in a minute how you can't even see the seams with tissue paper. It's absolutely fantastic. If you take your time and you don't overlap, you literally, it looks like it just looks like one print. So here are some little wooden dowels. These are actually the handles off of the sponges that I use from the Dollar Tree to paint with. When I throw those away, I keep the wooden part because they make great little pieces for DIYs. So I have like hot glue on it I'm picking off there, but I just use a baby wipe, some of the Folk Art antique wax, and we're staining those. Once those are fully dry, I go ahead and give it a coat of gray paint. It doesn't really matter what gray paint you choose. Whatever gray paint you think looks like metal would work. The real magic happens is when I use this one. It's from Folk Art. It's a metallic sterling silver. A lot of people ask me about this one because I use it for my galvanizing. That is the magic right there. You really need to stir this up. I actually recommend storing it upside down. It works better that way. Otherwise, all of the little, whatever the chemical is or substance is or ingredient is, whatever it is that makes it look metallic, kind of floats to the bottom. So I give it a good dry because we're using nutmeg now from Apple Barrel Paint. That is my absolute #1 favorite color for faux rust. It's a pretty much, you don't need to do anything to it color, and it works great for rust or just making things look antiqued. I know some people might want to go full out there and add some cinnamon to have it that look. I didn't want that because this is actually going to go to my daughter-in-law, and she was kind of telling me what she wanted. She's going to be using it in her kitchen. She loves the way this came out. I'm using the Gorilla Super Glue and some hot glue to glue those little faux legs down, and that gives it a permanent hold. And while it's drying, I'm gently taking a baby wipe and I'm going to stain around the paper. Now, the reason I do this afterwards is because the tissue paper is transparent, and it'll, at least for me, I didn't want the print to be that dark. You will see the brown through it, so you got to kind of do this at the end. And I also like to go around on the tissue paper a little bit because it helps blend the paper into the wood and make it look even more like a print. Now I'm just taking the Dollar Tree sponge and some of that antique wax, and I'm gently brushing it on the little legs so that they match. And I'm also using the sponge, the little beveled edge there, to do the edges of this wooden piece as well. And this sign is really huge too. This is another one of those big, huge trays. I think my daughter-in-law is planning on using it to either put coffee mugs on in her kitchen or possibly fruit, like bananas or something. She just loves it. She just said, she goes, "Ooh, I want that one. I'm taking that one." So, her maiden name is actually French, so maybe that has something to do with it, but she instantly loved this. And as you saw, glue those 4 little pieces I made down in the corner. That gives it that final French look. And then I'm taking those 2 little dowels there, and I'm going to glue some handles on it so you can pick this tray up by some handles. So now I'm just taking some of that black marker from the Dollar Tree, using it to hide the hot glue, and that's it. We're all done.
I would love to know which one were your favorites in today's video. Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, share it, and of course, if you would love to share your crafts with me, I would love to see them. I do have a Facebook page where you can do that. Next time you're on Facebook, head on over and say hi. And of course, here's another video I think you'll enjoy watching next.